My brothers and sisters, before starting today's episode, we want to tell you an important message. The events of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam's encounter with Namrood are mentioned in Surah Anbiya of the Quran, which is the 21st chapter and contains 112 verses. Also, we will come to know what happened in just a short while, and how that fire became such a powerful evidence of the oneness of Allah. Namrood wanted to build a grand and powerful empire. With this in mind, he had become the king of the whole world. There was no one who could challenge his power, and no one could oppose his tyranny. All people used to tremble at the very mention of his name. He was not satisfied even after being the king of the whole world. And despite having everything, he desired to be equal to God. That's why he built huge temples and statues and demanded all subjects to bow down before him and call him God. In this way, he was engrossed in sin and shirk. On the other hand, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was sent by Allah Almighty to invite mankind towards the path of righteousness and tawhid. Ibrahim salam challenged the arrogant Namrood and destroyed his false gods one by one. This enraged Namrood. He lost his temper and threw Hazrat Ibrahim salam into the fire. To test the words of Hazrat Ibrahim salam, that fire became a garden full of delicious food and drinks, where angels were sitting on beautiful and comfortable thrones. So we have already discussed the encounter of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam with Namrood. Now let's discuss the story of Namrood's daughter who believed in Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. Namrood's daughter was one of those fortunate people who, despite being in the family of polytheism and living in the environment of immorality, became Muslim. She saw the truth and realized that there was no God but Allah. Seeing her father going astray, she did not approve of her father's deeds and his claim to godliness. Because of this, Namrood hated his daughter even more. One day, when Namrood was sitting alone in the hall of his palace thinking about how to get rid of Hazrat Ibrahim salam, he saw that his daughter was reciting the kalima shahada. The girl was reciting the kalima shahada, which clearly shows that she believed in one God. When Namrood got angry, he called his daughter and asked her, "Why have you become a Muslim?" "I am your father. Don't you fear me?" Namrood's daughter replied. "There is nothing in this world that can stop me from believing in Allah. I am telling the truth, and you are a liar. Your claim of godliness is false, and you will be held accountable for your actions." Namrood's face turned red with anger. He raised his hand to hit her. The daughter said, "Hit me as much as you want, but remember, I believe in one God, and you will not succeed in stopping me from following the path shown by Ibrahim." After hearing these words, Namrood ordered his guards to throw her into the same fire. As soon as the guards approached his daughter, she said, "Please leave me here and allow me to spend the last moments of my life praying." The soldiers left her there. She raised her hands and closed her eyes and started making dua to Allah. At that time, Namrood looked at the sky and asked Allah, "Show me some miracle, prove yourself." And Allah showed a miracle. The fire turned into a garden. Suddenly the ground shook violently. A deep voice echoed through the air, "I am Allah, bow down to me." Namrood prostrated before Allah and begged for forgiveness. He repented of his sins and became Muslim. When Namrood fell to his knees, Ibrahim salam and his daughter embraced him and said, "Allah has forgiven you." Thus Namrood spent the last moments of his life in the shade of Islam. This way the story of Namrood and his daughter ended happily. The story of Namrood's daughter teaches us valuable lessons. May Allah Almighty make us from those people who leave shirk and come to the light of Islam. May Allah grant us the courage to follow the path shown by the prophets. Let us also learn to sacrifice for the sake of Allah, like Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam and his son Hazrat Isha al-salam. Both father and son sacrificed their lives for the sake of Allah and for the sake of humanity. Both of them were ready to sacrifice their lives for the sake of Allah, and they proved their Iman with their deeds. May Allah Almighty grant us the ability to understand their sacrifices and to implement their teachings in our lives. Amin. Now let's talk about the preparations of the fire. We have already discussed in the previous episodes that Nimrod wanted to get rid of Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam for this purpose. He built a huge and large furnace. The heat of that fire was so intense that it could burn Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam alive. That was the wish of Namrod's heart. Namrod thought that as soon as Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam enters into that furnace, he would be burned alive in a few moments. He wanted to get rid of Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam as soon as possible. In this regard, he consulted his men and directed them to complete the preparations for the next morning. By the next morning, the furnace was ready, and Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam was placed inside it. According to the plan of Namrod, the men of Namrod quickly closed the doors of the furnace. They locked it tightly so that no air could enter the furnace and the fire could burn more fiercely. In this way, they placed the keys in Namrod's hands. He waited patiently for a few moments so that Ibrahim could die soon. But the situation was something else. The furnace was ready, but it was not hot. The people around were amazed. No one expected that the furnace would not be hot. Everyone was waiting for the furnace to turn hot. And now let's talk about the miraculous thing that happened with the lizards and frogs. When Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam was thrown into the fire, his skin was slightly burnt. The people who were watching this scene from a distance asked Namrod, "Why isn't that fire turning hot?" Namrod replied, "Wait and watch. Very soon that fire will turn hot," but the fire was not hot. A little while passed and Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam's dress started smoking. People were surprised to see this and asked Namrod, "Why is his dress smoking?" Namrod replied, "Wait and watch. Soon the fire will burn him completely." But the fire did not turn hot. The people present there became impatient and said to Namrod, "Why doesn't that fire turn hot? Or why don't you order to light the fire?" And when Namrod looked closely, he saw that the lizard in his hand had died. Namrod ordered to kill the lizard. When the lizard was about to be killed, it suddenly spoke and said, "Leave me. I will tell you a secret about that fire." Namrod asked, "What is the secret?" The lizard said, "That fire will turn hot only after an hour. Until then, no harm will happen to Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam." Hearing this, Namrod asked the frog to kill it. But the frog forbade him and said, "Do not kill it. It is the same lizard that spoke to me. It told me that if I eat it, that fire will not turn hot." Namrod asked why. The frog replied, "Because the lizard has eaten a special herb, which extinguishes the fire." Assalamu Alaikum Wabarakatuhu, my respected brothers and sisters. Today we are going to discuss the topic of the love of the prophets. We've already discussed the topic of the bravery of the prophets, and we are discussing the topic of their love, how the prophets love their people. They sacrifice their children for their sake. May Allah Almighty be pleased with them. In the previous part, we discussed how Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam struggled against the Mushrikin and their leader Namrod, and how bravely he confronted them. And today, we are going to discuss what a strong and steadfast person Hazrat Ibrahim al-salam was. He was so strong and steadfast that even after being sentenced to death, when he was facing death, even then he did not compromise on his belief. Rather, he was firm on his belief. He was confident in his belief. When Namrood realized that he cannot break Ibrahim on the path of his belief, he decided that Ibrahim must be killed, and therefore he ordered to kill Ibrahim by burning him in the fire. So the question is, what kind of a terrible punishment was this? What does it indicate about the resolve of Ibrahim al-salam? It indicates that Ibrahim al-salam was a staunch believer. Even though he knew that he would be burned alive, still he did not waver on the path of truth. In the previous part, we discussed how the whole Ummah participated in gathering wood for burning Ibrahim al-Salam. And now the time came when Ibrahim al-Salam had to be thrown into the fire. It is narrated in a tradition that when his hands and feet were tied, Ibrahim al-Salam raised his hands in the court of Kuda and said, La ilahanta ila anta, subhanaka, Rabul, Alamin, Lakal, Olakal, Mulk. In another narration, it is mentioned that at that time he made istighfar and seek forgiveness for his people. At that time, when he was about to be thrown in the fire, he said, O Allah, you are alone in the sky, and the one who worships you is alone on the earth. We learn from this dua that even in the worst of situations, a Muslim should remember Allah Almighty and should not forget to seek forgiveness for his people. Hazrat Abu Hurairah, Razi Allah, and who tells me that Rasul Akram Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that when Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam was thrown in the fire, he said, O my Allah, you are alone in the sky, and the one who worships you is alone on the earth. In another narration, it is mentioned that at that time he made istighfar and sought forgiveness for his people. At that time, when he was about to be thrown in the fire, he said, O Allah, you are alone in the sky, and the one who worships you is alone on the earth. Hazrat Abu Hurairah Raziallahu Anhu tells me that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Adua, when Ibrahim al-Salam was thrown into the fire, he said, O Allah, you are alone in the sky, and the one who worships you is alone on the earth. In another narration, it is mentioned that at that time he made istighfar and sought forgiveness for his people. At that time, when he was about to be thrown in the fire, he said, O Allah, you are alone in the sky, and the one who worships you is alone on the earth. We learn from this dua that even in the worst of situations, Muslims should remember Allah Almighty and should not forget to seek forgiveness for his people. Then Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam was thrown into the fire in a manjani. It is mentioned in one narration that when Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam was placed in the manjani and was raised up, then Namrood asked, Will you accept the gods? Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam said, No, by the Lord who has sent me to you, I will not accept your gods. Then Namrood ordered to throw him. When Ibrahim was thrown, the fire blazed even more fiercely, and the heat increased many times. Namrood thought that Ibrahim would surely be burnt to ashes by now, but he was wrong in his assumption. Namrood thought that Ibrahim would surely be burnt to ashes by now, but he was wrong in his assumption. Namrood thought that Ibrahim would surely be burnt to ashes by now, but he was wrong in his assumption. When Namrood saw that Ibrahim was still alive, he became very angry, and he started saying, Is this man really so brave? Can this man really endure this much heat? Or is this man made of some special thing? At this time, Satan gave a suggestion to Namrood and said, O Namrood, if you want to kill Ibrahim and get rid of this fear, then you should throw stones at him through this manjani. I think Ibrahim will not be able to bear it anymore. Namrood accepted Satan's advice, and he ordered his soldiers to start throwing stones at Ibrahim. But the amazing thing happened. All the stones turned into roses and showered on Ibrahim. In another narration, it is mentioned that when Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, the stones of the city turned into roses and started falling from the sky. When Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, the stones of the city turned into roses and started falling from the sky. When Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, the stones of the city turned into roses and started falling from the sky. It is mentioned in another tradition that when the stones were thrown, a dove flew from the city and perched on the manjani and cooed as Assalamu, Alaikum, Warahmatullahi, Wabarakatuhu. My respected brothers and sisters, if Allah Almighty wants to humiliate anyone, then he makes him the target of ridicule of the whole universe. It's just like he made Nimrod and his companions a target of ridicule of the whole universe. When Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, the stones of the city turned into roses and started falling from the sky. When Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, the stones of the city turned into roses and started falling from the sky. It is mentioned in another tradition that when the stones were thrown, a dove flew from the city and perched on the manjani and cooed as Assalamu Alaikum, Warahmatullahi, Wabarakatuhu. My respected brothers and sisters, if Allah Almighty wants to humiliate anyone, then he makes him the target of ridicule of the whole universe. just like he made Nimrod and his companions a target of ridicule of the whole universe. On that day when the stones rained on Ibrahim al-Salam, no one was spared. Neither stones nor water nor fire. Nothing could harm Ibrahim al-Salam. His body was not even scorched. After this, Satan gave another suggestion to Namrod and said, "O Namrod, you have a four-walled structure. Why don't you throw Ibrahim in it?" Namrod accepted this idea and ordered to bring the logs of wood and start filling the structure. It is mentioned in a tradition that it took 2 years to light the fire. Finally, when the fire was ready, Ibrahim al-Salam was thrown into the fire in the same manjani. However, no one could go near the fire because the flames were spreading for miles. No one could go near it. Even birds could not fly above it. At that time, Satan gave another suggestion to Namrod and said, "Namrod, there is no other way left. It seems that Ibrahim is not of this world. Why don't you make a machine and throw him in the fire?" Namrod accepted Satan's advice and ordered his men to build a machine. His men built a machine, and Ibrahim al-Salam was tied and thrown in it. When Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, the stones of the city turned into roses and started falling from the sky. When Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, the stones of the city turned into roses and started falling from the sky. When Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, the stones of the city turned into manner. He says, without any fear, he jumped into the fire of Namrod. Love is wisdom, the spectacle of the lips of the left. Now we see the story of Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam being thrown into the fire, and the role of the lizard in it, about which maqam is written in the history books. That, when Namrod invited Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam to the intention of the love of Allah, Rabul is it. He was ordered to be thrown into the fire at that time. This incident was a very difficult situation on the Quran throne, which was mentioned not only by humans but also by birds and jinns. On this occasion, according to a tradition, when this incident was mentioned between the lizard and the lizard supported Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam, while the lizard supported Namrod. According to another tradition, when Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam was thrown into the fire at that time, the small birds were also filling their beaks with water and pouring it in the fire according to their capacity, so that the fire could cool down for Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam. At this time was this lizard, which was trying to inflame the fire further by its blows. According to another tradition, once a companion of Faqih bin Mughra Raziallah anhu freed the slave woman when in the house of Bibi Aisha Raziallah anha. When she went there, she saw a spear lying there. She asked Bibi Aisha Raziallah anha what its purpose was. She replied that it was for killing lizards, because Huzur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told that when all the animals were trying to save the dead, Ibrahim al-Salam, this lizard was the only animal that tried to intensify the fire. It is narrated from the freed maid of Hazrat Fatiha bin Mughra that Sayyida Aisha Raziallah anha used to have a spear. I asked her what she learnt from it. She said that we kill lizards with it because we have been told by the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam was thrown into the fire, all the animals on the earth were busy in extinguishing the fire, except the lizard. It was busy in intensifying the fire. She used to blow on it. Therefore, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered to kill her Sunan by Maya Hadith number 3231. He heard Musnad Ahmad Hadith number 6504 when Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam was thrown into the fire. He was 16 or 20 years old. There are 3 stories regarding how long did Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam stay in the fire. Some interpreters say that he stayed in the fire for 7 days. Maqam states that when the fire of Namrod turned into a fire, and after seeing its other circumstances, Hazrat Lut al-Salam and Janab Sarah expressed their faith, and Namrod's daughter Raja also believed. Hazrat Lut al-Salam was the maternal uncle of Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam, and Janab Sarah was the maternal uncle's sister. Regarding Namrod's daughter accepting the faith, Allama Abdul Wahid bin Muhammad al-Mufti writes in Hawala Miraj al-Nubawat that Namrod's daughter, Raja, was a very intelligent and smart girl. When she saw Hazrat Ibrahim being thrown into the fire, she insisted and persuaded her father to allow. her to go to the tower on which all the people were sitting and watching Hazrat Ibrahim. Namrood gave permission, and she went to the tower. On reaching there, she saw the situation and was surprised to see that the fire had blossomed and the throne of the bull had been brought for them. She called out in a voice, "O Ibrahim, what am I seeing? O Ibrahim, how did these situations arise?" God sent her voice to Hazrat Ibrahim. Hazrat Ibrahim replied, "Fire cannot burn the one who has the love of Allah in his heart." She said, "Do I have permission to come to you in the fire?" He said, "If you recite the kalma, you can come to us." Oh. She recited the kalma and came down quietly and reached Hazrat Ibrahim. When she reached near the fire, she was not harmed by any part of the fire, and she reached Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam. After reaching there, she renounced her faith and went back to her home, to her father. When Namrood came to know about his daughter accepting the faith, he became furious and asked his daughter to repent. She refused. Then she insisted and threatened him, but he did not care. When Namrood got tired of convincing her, he handed over his daughter to the executioners. The executioners made her lie down in the sun and hammered nails in her hands and feet. The executioners punished her, and Khuda Vand Tala ordered Hazrat Jibril al-Salam to take his slave girl healthy from there and take her to Ibrahim. This incident happened after Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam came out of the fire. It is later that Hazrat Jibril al-Salam sent Namrood, his daughter Raja, to Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam's service, so she stayed with him. He married her to one of his son's maiden, who was the wife of Katra, apart from Sarahira. Then God gave her such honor that he gave birth to many prophets in his line of mercy. Indeed, it is the beauty of Islam that whoever came in its lap, his world and hereafter both were secured. The people of truth should learn a lesson from the Aswahazna of Hazrat Ibrahim al-Salam, that in the face of false worshippers, one should remain firm till the last breath without any fear, hesitation, and pressure, and should have this faith and belief that surely God will help us, and then we will cry. It is believed that those who follow your call for Hasna will definitely be successful. Viewers, this was our video today. We hope that you liked our video today. If you liked our video today, then we request you to subscribe to our channel and also press the bell button so that you get notification of our upcoming more Malumat videos. Also like our videos and express your valuable opinion in the comments. You can also send us your questions in the comments. May Allah keep you in His protection. Ameen.